My name is Sean Mallon. I'm with Allied Equipment Company. We supplied the heating pumps for this job. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to go through this O&M, and then apparently we go down to the mechanical room.
Yep.
Okay, so the first part of this O&M is basically what the contractor needs to know, okay? Because most of this is receiving, setting, operating, or starting the pump up. As we get down to the beginning of the second page, they talk about the alignment, okay? Now the pump's been aligned, but periodically, and I'm going to tell you that you probably want to look at once a year to look at the coupling, take the coupling guard off and look at it. Now today's couplings are different than the typical Woods type, so misalignment is not nearly an issue like it was in years past. So
what's the wood type? Is that the
it's
kind
the
that,
teeth, like a Lovejoy.
right? The hard plastic rubber, where the hard
Yeah.
rubber ones.
Yeah, that's usually EPDM or neoprene.
Okay.
But that's not the type of coupling that's on this pump, okay? The other critical part is the seal. Now these pumps, and I'll talk about the pumps first. The pumps don't need lubricated because they're sealed bearings, okay? The motor needs lubricated, and in your instructions for the motor, it gives you the intervals. The one thing I want to say to you is do not over grease the motor, okay? Because grease does two things. It dissipates heat and it keeps heat in. And that's detrimental to the bearings. So they've already done the startup. You can see here where it says recommended greases. That's for the pump. That's not for the motor. This is the part I wanted to show you, the mechanical seal. This is probably the weakest link of the whole system. And what I'm saying by that is if this seal gets dirty, it's going to leak, okay? And 90% of the seals that I see leak is because of the dirt in the system. Now, obviously, it's been flushed, so that's not an issue now. But, you know, if you have leaks in your system down the road or what have you, then you could, at some point, have a leaky seal. And if you see that, and we'll look at this when we get down there, there's suction diffusers on those pumps. They have screens in them. You took the startups out, right? And then there is another screen, and it's typically bigger than what's going to make a seal leak. So if you see a seal leaking, just don't think you can replace it and it solves your problem. You've got to check other things out, and one of them is if you have dirt in your system. Okay. We don't have to worry about the wiring of the motor or the rotation. That's all done. This is a troubleshooting guide. This is basically something that was done as far as these conditions when they started the pump, okay? That's basically all I have to say about the pumps. And see if you have any issues with dirt and water, which we talked that.
And then they before they do
Put a
bucket under that, open that.
And I wouldn't do too much because you
Just
cook it
a
a
little
lot.
bit, just to see how they water. Really not clear dirty.
This here is your balancing valve, which, for today's purposes, is acting as a check valve because those are actually running the pump. Okay. So this can be used as a shut-off. You have to isolate it. This is your other shut-off. Okay. So if you had to work on it, you could isolate it without draining anything that was in this area.
And where am I free to? Here?
Yep.
Here.
Yep.
Only on the motor. Nothing
Those
on the
are sealed.
These are sealed.
Yep.
So how is that coupling it? You said it's not a gear coupling?
It looks like a shaft column. You know what a shaft column looks like?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a flat spot in the found down.
Exactly what it looks like, and there's a piece of material between both shaft columns.
Sort of like flux.
Sort of, kind of. But what it's nice about it, we're not meshing teeth, so we're not so concerned with it. It'll give you a little bit of margin of error for your alignment.
Okay.
Okay.
And what's the alignment? I mean, just undoing the motor and turning that? or
Well,
is it-
that's, if you're gonna do that, you know, there's people who do that for a living.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
I'm talking about if you notice it and you don't think you can do it, then you have to get the people in here to do it. And it's a mill right there.
it's almost like, doing a belt on a rooftop unit. You start messing with the motor, you're gonna have a straight edge, the line that's something
Exactly.
wrong.
Any questions on that?
In all honesty, those things are never gonna really come out of alignment unless you have to change the coupling.
Exactly. Which you probably not in your working lifetime, that's probably gonna happen. Unless something happens to the pump.
Over at the elementary and at the other building, because they were that. And then one day I go down there and everything underneath it is all that black material.
Well, that's a good indication that it's not aligned with that. And the reason that's important, because even then, if that thing stays misaligned, the first thing it's going to go is your seal. Then your bearings go, then your shaft goes. Then you're buying a new pump.
And the seals are in this on the shaft.
There's two seals. There's a front seal, or there's one seal with two bearings. A front bearing and a rear bearing.
Okay.
Your seal is right there. This part's called the cover. Okay? Your seal's right here.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
And the recommended grease is in this sample for
Yep.
the motor.
For the motor. Okay, any other questions?
So this is the shot feeder. You guys said you're familiar with these. But are you familiar with the quarter turn cap?
Well, it's probably quarter turn top it up.
You know, you isolate it, relieve the pressure, quarter turn it.
Out, put it in there.
Now, one thing I did want to bring up, earlier we talked about filtration. It wasn't part of this spec, but there's actually a filter that you can put in this tank. You leave these inlet and outlet open, and it will constantly filter the water in the system on what they call a side stream. So a little bit at a time, it's always filtered. So I don't know if that's something maybe you want to consider adding.
Once you get that information, you can get it to me.
Okay.
I'll ask this to one of that extra
Okay.
item.
Yeah, there's two ways to do it. There's actually a cartridge filter that with an adapter that fits in there, or there's taller ones that have a bag filter. If you're familiar with those.
I haven't seen that, so I never really see the filters on it.
Oh,
I've
okay.
seen the old, you know.
Yeah, but if you think you want a filter, filtration is never a bad thing. So, but that's basically it. We already talked about the treatment and what it does and why we're doing it.